Have you ever seen Saving Private Ryan?
Yes.
It's a great movie. I'm kind of the role of Tom Hanks in this. I'm not saying I am Tom Hanks. He runs that team. He's got different personalities. Everybody has their own specialty, their own quirkiness, but he's running the team. The difference between him and the other generals is that he's in the trenches with them. And that's kind of where I am. I got to be able to see their perspective as well as see the perspective of those above me.
Hello, welcome to the Career Curious Podcast. I'm your host, George Roots. I am joined today with Brandon Choate. Brandon is an operational manager. Did I get that correct?
Operations manager.
Yes. Do you mind telling me about yourself?
I am 46 years old. I have worked in the restaurant industry for 25 years prior to joining Steratec. I joined them coming up on 6 years ago, 5.5 or so years ago. Started as a specialist and got moved up into the operations manager role a couple years ago.
What prompted the change? How'd you get into it?
Sanity. To be perfectly honest with you, the restaurant world is full of insanity, and it was time to get out of some of that. I have a lot of knowledge of the restaurant world, and it's hard to put it to good use. I found an opportunity to jump on the other side of it. Steratec does food safety and brand standard assessments for all kinds of clients, everything from gas stations to Disney World and in between. Maybe we come in and do an assessment for Publix or for Target or for Pizza Hut, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, whatever it is. Maybe we're just looking at the food safety side, or maybe we have to make sure that they're doing the brand standard side. Are the tacos in the Taco Bell in Omaha being made the same as the tacos in Washington, D.C., and so on?
Yeah,
So
that makes
we're
a lot of
third
sense.
party. Yeah, we're a third party that these companies hire, and we maintain their business. It gives them that outside eye to see where their opportunities are, to see where their strengths are, and it grows their company. There's actually a measurement that we can use. We have a proprietary software called OnBrand, and inside OnBrand, it has all kinds of ways to get all the data that we collect and display it. Where's the biggest opportunities? Where's the biggest points of success? And they can build their business on that. You can actually see where we first started a client, and as we progress, their business goes up, their store cleanliness goes up, their customer satisfaction goes up, their store surveys that they send out to customers go up. Best of all, their profit goes up.
Absolutely. That is amazing. Thank you for that overview of the company.
Yeah.
What is your role? What do you do within?
Run the operations team in Georgia. Atlanta and Savannah basically are my two major markets. I have a team of currently 13. It was 14 last month. Things happen, and we're going to get it back up. I'd like to have it to 15. 16 would be lovely, but I don't know if they're going to give me that. 15 will take. My main goal, my main focus is support. Be there for my team. How do I help them out? Sometimes it's solving their problems, fixing their schedules, and sometimes it's honestly just being an ear. Let them vent out for a minute. They had a rough assessment. It didn't go the way they wanted it to, and things happen, and you're out there by yourselves, and sometimes you just need someone to call and go, I got to vent out for a minute. So sometimes I'm just an ear.
Let me ask a follow-up question. Were you in management in your first 25 years, or is management relatively new for you?
Yeah, I was. I've run some kitchens. I've done some pretty cool things. I've opened up restaurants, created menus. I did a pretty cool one with Chick-fil-A called Truett's Luau, and was a part of that when it first opened. It's their only full-service Hawaiian restaurant in the entire company. I was able to create a big portion of the menu and create all the steps on how to make that menu happen inside the home office and then go out into the building itself. It was still being built. It was just dirt at that point. So that was pretty cool. So just to kind of summarize it, I've worked in large restaurant chains, corporations, and I've worked in mom and pops. I've run a couple of kitchens. I've done my share on that one, and I've been the lowest on the totem pole too.
Once you made the transition out of the restaurant industry, how long did it take you to become a manager in your new company?
I started with Steratec in 2019. I believe it was the end of spring of 22 when I moved up into the management role. That was through the middle of COVID. So we all know that time is not real. There might have been 12 years in that small COVID time period. The opportunity presented itself, and I worked with some really good people. I had a good couple of bosses. One moved out to Dallas and opened up The role here, which I interviewed for and did not get the first time, was okay because the person I worked with got it and I supported her 100%. She was awesome. I still talk to her today. And then she got offered the role in New England and in Rhode Island, Boston area. So she took it and I was able to kind of train under her a little bit to kind of learn a little more insides of it. It was a really good fit. We worked well together. We already had a good team. It was a really positive transition for the team and for all of us involved. But it is much different to manage this style than it is a restaurant. The restaurant's a little chaotic. It's a lot like managing a t-ball team. They all run around until you get something together, and someone gets on a base, and somehow runs get scored, and the game's over. You don't really know how it happens, but it does. And this is a little more organized and thought-provoking and planning. I like it better, to be honest with you. It's more personal. I get to work with people.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. I probably wouldn't mind interviewing you a second time just to go deeper into management. Like, what does a Monday look like? What are the activities that you're doing?
It varies. In all honesty, this is where life in the restaurant does pay off because you have to be able to adapt. You can have plans all you want. So I kind of imagine myself like this. Have you ever seen Saving Private Ryan?
Yes.
It's a great movie. I'm kind of the role of Tom Hanks in this. I'm not saying I am Tom Hanks. He runs that team. He's got different personalities. Everybody has their own specialty, their own quirkiness, but he's running the team. The difference between him and the other generals is that he's in the trenches with them. And that's kind of where I am. I got to be able to see their perspective as well as see the perspective of those above me. And how do I be the liaison between the two? How do I keep this side motivated to go out there and get shot at, while to keeping this side satisfied that we are achieving the goal that we're looking at?
I've never heard that
Maybe
analogy.
I'm not
That's amazing.
first out there to run. So that's the fun part of it. It's a lot like standing on a seesaw. One side is the people and the other side is the numbers aspect, the business of it, if you will, and you got to balance it at all times. You can't lean too heavy and just deal with the people because then you're going to forget about the business and that's going to go down. But if you only focus on the numbers, then you're going to forget that there's people involved.
Absolutely.
And that's not going to make them happy and your turnover is going to be really bad.
Well, if you don't mind, Brandon,
and then you spend more time training people.
What are the activities like? Are you checking emails? What does the trenches look like?
You're right. So we use Google. We use Gmail. And we do all of our communications through Google Chat as well. I have messages coming in from all different types of people, either through email or through Google Chat, whether it's a group message or a personal message from from someone, either one of my team members or my boss or somewhere else within the company, some other facet of the company. So there's lots of messages coming in. But I also go out in the field and I do assessments. So I could be in the field when those messages come in too. So it's a little bit of both. I try to plan out the days I'm going to be in the field on days that I don't have meetings or things scheduled. Lots of emails, lots of messages, as well as doing actual field work.
Gotcha. So if a engineering manager decided he did not want to be an engineering manager anymore, decided he wanted to take your route, is that something a person can do, or would you need a different set of background? What skills would it take to be successful in that position? Because we're such a different type of company and what we do in the field is a little bit different. We don't have a lot of competitive companies going against us. I'm not saying there's not some out there. There definitely are. It takes a little bit more time to learn the roles of what they do. There have been people that come in from outside the company and step right into management roles. They tend to have a little harder time to understand and learn the empathy of what the actual field work is. It's a bit more difficult. We tend to hire from within. We tend to start people at the bottom, basically, and work up. In fact, about 90% of our upper management all started in the same spot that I started at. And so it kind of works up from there. And we don't really have a ladder per se that you think about in other worlds. You start here, you go here, and that's what you do. It's more of a grapevine where there's different directions you can go. So once you kind of get the roots set, no pun intended, once you get the roots set, you can kind of go the direction that you want to go. Maybe you're really into the management part and you want to stay with the people. You want to manage the operations and you want to go above that. Or maybe you're really into working the accounts. You want to talk with the clients themselves, create the different type of assessments. Or maybe you want to be the technical side where you want to answer all the questions between the operations and the account managers. And you want to get all those things right. Or maybe you want to train people. You want to train the new people coming in. Maybe you want to be a part of that process and getting people ready to move up to the next levels. There's all different kinds of ways to go into it. I've always been able to find
a way to connect with people and find what motivates them. Each person's a little bit different. And so I kind of enjoy that, working one-on-one, finding out what they're good at and using that to help them move along. Quite often you'll find when people are relaxed and comfortable with talking, they will show something that they didn't know they had that they were really good at. And now I've found something that they can really expand on, and it helps them grow. It helps them stay with the company longer, if not for a career, which is the goal, of course, but it also gives them a sense of ownership too. There's a pride that they have in that aspect that you just can't really find just going to apply at a job. So that's my favorite part of it, I guess.
Absolutely.
I should say, is that development part.
Yeah, I love that answer. But is the ideal candidate for your company someone who's been in the restaurant industry before, and so that gives them perspective? Or
Yes and no.
okay,
Yes and no. I have seen success on both sides. It really depends on that person. And what do I mean? So they got to be able to communicate because most of the time they're out by themselves. I am not a very good micromanager. I don't want to be a micromanager. We're all adults here. I trust you're going to do your job. You trust I'm going to do mine. I'm going to have your back. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to support. So I expect a level of good communication. Sometimes it's just saying, hey, things are going well. It doesn't have to be bad, but I'm not going to look over your shoulder. I'm not going to make sure you start your day on time. These are the jobs you have to get done. If you need help, here I am. And then you have to have a level of resilience. Maybe something doesn't go well. Maybe there's an upset manager that kind of ruffles your feathers a little bit. Can you finish that assessment, cut it off, and then go to the next one and not have it affect your next one? That's a tough one. So that resilience and that ability to have the on-off switch, go to the next one and be good. That's the biggest part. So I've seen people that have never worked a day in a restaurant do really well. They have this ability to have empathy, see things from their perspective, to present the issues at hand, present ways to solve it, find the good things that they're doing, how to build up morale, and then they can leave. And these places come away with, hey, we had a lot of really good things. We had a couple of opportunities. We're going to work on those, but we have some good things going on too.
If you can go back to 2019, is there any advice you would give yourself transitioning into this role that you think would make you more successful?
Sure. 100%. Trust myself. Don't doubt me all the time. I'm an overthinker. Trust my gut. I've been in the restaurant world for a long time. If something doesn't look right, something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Go with your gut.
Absolutely.
Stop doubting. Just do it. When I hired people based on not only what they show me, but what their experience is as a person, not necessarily is it in the restaurant or not. How are they going to present themselves in those situations? Do they have the instinct for it? Can they work by themselves? That's a hard transition. So I would say give myself some time, be patient, and trust my gut. Here's the thing about the gut, and I love this about the gut. We have our head and our heart. They can lie to us. We can talk ourselves out or into anything we want to because we've overthought it. We can say, well, here's all the great things. I'm going to hire this person because these are the great things they showed me. Or our heart is, well, I really feel for them. They're out looking for a job. They're working hard. I really need to give them a chance. They can sway you to something that you really wouldn't want to go with. But your gut down there says something's off.
Absolutely.
And you may not be able to tag it exactly and put a label on it. But when you know something's not right, something's not right. And your gut's a whole nother system down there.
I totally agree.
It doesn't create words, but it will tell you when something's not right.
That's a great point. Brandon, can you tell me of a recent success you've had, something you're proud of within your role, your job?
Yeah, I have a couple of them actually. But one of the big ones that helps me along quite often is when I got the role, I interviewed against a few other people, and they wanted the role too. I was offered the role and I took it. Another person that was interviewing for the role, he was a little hurt by it. He kind of shut down a little bit. We do what's called a shadow. So we go out there and shadow them and watch them while they work. Well, I've worked with him in the past, of course, and I wanted to watch him work. When I watched him, I realized that management is not what he's good at. It's not that he couldn't be, but that's not where his heart is. His heart was teaching people. So we sat down and talked, and I said, okay, there's a couple of things I see. One, you're really good with one-on-ones. That's where we need to focus on going into training as opposed to management. And so we started making a plan of going, let's really focus on what you're doing. Instead of your energy going all these other places and killing yourself, let's direct it. we're going to project it right where we want it to be. And we're going to make sure it's powerful. And that's what it's going to be. That's what we did. We worked on a schedule, and he came around, was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I really like this whole training thing. We worked on it. And he interviewed for the certified master trainer role, and he got it.
Nice.
And let me tell you, he is great at it. I love watching people that I've been working with find that little passion for them and succeed. If they succeed, I succeed. That's how I look at it. I can't succeed just by myself. And when I see them reach the goals that we've established and come up with a plan to get there, it's fantastic.
Absolutely. I love
And, he still sends me messages and asks me questions and, hey, what do you think about this? And so it's a good working relationship, and he trusts my instincts. I know he's really good. He's a little younger, so he's got the energy of a young person, but not necessarily the experience of being around a while and that ability to count to 10 before you take action. So it's nice to see him pop questions off and see that he's thinking about it. He's learned some of those things. I love those kind of successes.
Absolutely. I love that story. I think those are the ones that hit the soul
Yeah, I mean,
just a
we
little
can
bit
all
more.
connecting with people goes a long way. We can all do our job and do it great, and we can see the numbers. But when you hit that connection with a person, that goes on to the next person, and then the next person. That's immeasurable. There's not a metric that goes with that.
Absolutely. I guess, Brandon, what's next for you? I mean, or what's next
That is
for
a very
operational
good question.
manager? If you don't want to tie it directly
So
to you, what's next?
that's a really good question. It's something I have been focusing on, but not as much as I need to. That's one thing about me that I've got to work on, is being able to spend time and energy towards me. I always spend it towards everybody else. So I've been kind of working on that. I'm very heavily focused on the people side. I really want to start looking at the business side and the data side. I'd like to find that balance between the two, always being able to shift back and forth and keeping that seesaw level. And so I think I need to look at the data side. I'd like to go into the data analytics side and being able to pull information and compare it either with the customers and the clients themselves or within the company to help keep those balances there.
Absolutely.
That's the direction that I'm looking at.
It makes a lot of sense to me.
I think there's
Brandon, I've asked you quite a few questions, and thank you for your time and responses. Do you have any questions for me?
not at the moment. It was fun talking. I have not done a podcast before, so it's a little new to me.
I think it's been wonderful. I appreciate all your insights, how you got into the career, what someone would be to be successful within operations. And I would love to talk to you again to see more about the management side of things, more about the day-to-day life of someone of your direct reports. If we can, I would love to have you back.
Absolutely. Please.
Well, thank you a lot for your time, and we'll talk again.